in the exhibition From Scribble to Cartoon, drawings from Bruegel to Rubens. In this exhibition, we show the 100 most beautiful drawings preserved in Flemish collections. And together they give an overview of the art of drawing in the 16th and 17th century southern Netherlands. So there are lots of drawings on view by famous artists such as Pieter Bruegel, Pieter Paul Rubens, Jacob Jordaens and Anthony van Dyck, but also a lot of drawings by artists that are perhaps less known today, but that were back then in their time important artists. Several drawings in this exhibition are here on view for the very first time. In this exhibition, we want to invite visitors to look over the shoulders of old master draftsmen, to consider and to think about why these drawings were made and why artists chose for particular techniques or drawing materials. Drawings were very often at that time not made as artworks in themselves, but used as tools for studying or in the production process of other works of art. And they were thus made for very specific reasons, and this is what is the object of our exhibition. The exhibition is divided into 3 themes, which illustrate the 3 most important functions of drawing at that time. The first theme is studying, second is designing, and the third theme is independent drawings. We are here in the introduction room to the exhibition, which is the former kitchen of the Moretus family, who were the owners of the Plantin press from the 17th till the late 19th century. And in this kitchen we show a remarkable group of kitchen still lifes by Paul de Vos, who was the brother-in-law of Frans Snijders, one of the most important still life painters in Antwerp in the 17th century. And in this group we already have an overview of the different functions of drawings at that time. And I'm going to highlight one particular drawing, still life with a fruit basket and a squirrel. And this drawing is a so-called ricordo, a souvenir of painting Frans Snijders made in his studio. What was presumably the function of this ricordo? When the painting was finished, it obviously left the studio, went to its patron who paid for it. And so for the painter it was important to have a souvenir of this painting that he could show to new patrons, or that could just be at the basis of a new painting. In this introduction room we also explain some of the drawing materials and techniques used by the old master draftsman, such as pen and ink, black and white chalk, charcoal or graphite. The first theme in the exhibition is studies. An artist made studies throughout their entire career. They made studies for practicing their hand, practicing their technique, but most of all to collect motifs that they could use in their own work. And for collecting their motifs, they looked at works of their colleagues and predecessors, but also at the world around them. And in this room we can see examples of drawings after paintings, after sculpture, but also after models, after animals and after nature. The most special work in this room is this album, which contains the earliest known drawings by Pieter Paul Rubens. Rubens made these drawings when he was around 13 years old, and they already show the great talent Rubens has. We know from art theory that an artist's training started with copying prints, And this is exactly what Rubens is doing here. He's copying a print series of the 16th century German artist Hans Holbein, which is called Images of Death. Rubens is meticulously copying all the lines of the print in pen and ink, but he's already a great artist and he's not completely following his example. And so, for example, he renders the face of the knight who is stabbed by the death. He's rendering this face with a much greater expression than Hans Holbein did. And another nice story about this album is that, according to contemporary sources, Rubens told his later colleagues that when he was young, he copied this particular print series by Hans Holbein because he was so fond of it. The second and most important theme in the exhibition is design. And within this theme, we have attention for the different functions of drawings within the production process of artworks. Drawings played an important role in conceiving the design of artworks, from krabbelingen to karton, or in other words, from first sketch to cartoon, the final design on true scale. But drawings also were an important means of communication between the several involved parties. An important party was, of course, the patron of the artwork, who wanted to know in advance how his expensive artwork was going to look like. Besides, artworks were at that time often the result of a collaboration between several artists. On the one hand, the designer, often a painter, who made the design for the artwork, and on the other hand, the specialized craftsman, such as the tapestry weaver, the engraver, or the glass painter, who had to execute the design and who used the design as a guideline for this execution. All these parties thus needed to know in advance how the artwork was going to look like, and this was done by means of drawings. And a beautiful example of this in the exhibition is a design by Rubens for the title page of one of the books that were published by the Plantin Press. On this drawing, Rubens wrote a message to Plantin-Moretus, the publisher of the Plantin Press. In this message, he asked approval for his design. He wrote, "I hope you are happy with my design," and as if to convince the patron, he added, "I myself, I'm already very pleased with it." Rubens is in this exhibition the best example of an artist, a painter who delivered designs for several types of artworks. So there are designs for paintings, for print and book illustrations, for precious metalware, and for sculpture. In the exhibition, we show a design by Rubens for two statues that he made for Plantin-Moretus. And what is so special about it is that the statues are until today preserved in the Plantin Press. Until recently, scholars thought that the sculptures were from the 18th century, but the dendrochronological research that we conducted for this exhibition has revealed that the statues are from the early 17th century. And so they were probably made by Hans van Mildert, with whom Rubens collaborated regularly. For example, for his own house at the Wapper, currently the Rubenshuis. And so in our archives, we have some payments around the 1620s to Hans van Mildert for several works. And this probably refers to the execution of these statues. And so again, this design is a beautiful example of how these drawings were used as tools for communication, because it also contains a note by Rubens, this time not directed to his patron, Plantin-Moretus, but to the sculptor, probably Hans van Mildert. And the note says that the feet of the statues need to be executed in one line, although they are drawn in perspective in the design. The last theme in the exhibition is dedicated to drawings made as independent artworks. And a very clear example of this practice is a drawing by Johannes Wierix, Apelles painting Campaspe. In this drawing, Wierix carefully finishes every detail. He draws a framing line to indicate this work is finished. He signs the drawing and he executes it on parchment instead of paper, which was a much more precious material. What is also remarkable about this drawing is that Wierix, who in the first place is an engraver, that he imitates the particular style of engravings in this drawing. So he draws with very refined cross hatchings, which we can also find in engravings. He also made several drawings with the same composition of Apelles painting Campaspe. And so also in this aspect he relates to the medium of prints, where there are always several impressions of one and the same composition. And so we can really interpret this drawing as a kind of a luxurious handmade edition of a print. And so this is a very clear example of a drawing that was intentionally made as an independent work of art, but often drawings had many functions and they led many lives. And this is illustrated in the exhibition by a design by Bartholomeus Spranger, which was in the first place a design for a print or a painting, but the drawings of Bartholomeus Spranger were widely collected at the court of Prague among collectors. And so this drawing led a second life as an independent artwork. We are here in the library of the Plantin-Press, and this was the only space where we could show this panorama of Walcheren, which is an island in Zeeland in the Netherlands, and which is more than 10 meters long. And it's the first time we are able to show this remarkable work. It was drawn in the 16th century by Antonius van de Wijngaarden, and it is probably a preparatory work for a painting in a gallery in one of the Spanish palaces of the Spanish crown. The island of Walcheren was important to the Spanish crown for economic and defensive reasons. The panorama is drawn on several pieces of paper that are attached to each other. There are 3 different parts that are elaborated in a different way. One part is very sketchily elaborated in just pen and ink and representing loose motifs of boats and sea animals. A second part is more sophisticated and elaborated in pen and ink and blue watercolor. And the last part is really fully elaborated with several colors and a lot of details. Presumably these 3 different parts, they belong to different stages in the preparatory process for this painting in the Spanish gallery.